Chapter 25. The Two Tables of Stone. And he gave unto Moses, when he had made an end of communion with him upon Mount Sinai, 2 tables of testimony, tables of stone written with the finger of God. Therefore the Kabbalists say correctly that man became a stone, a plant, an animal, a man, a spirit, and finally God, thus accomplishing his cycle or circuit and returning to the point from which he started as the heavenly man, from the secret doctrine, Blavatsky. The great law of the universe, that which manifests forever in man, atom, and world as a law of spiritual evolution, works forever onward and upward toward more perfect manifestation. This great law, or the flame of divine love, burns forever, sending out its light, its sparks, and its fire mist, which, cooling gradually, condenses into ethereal and later into what we know as dense matter, producing the physical aspect of planets, creatures, men. The law under which this force of divine love operates is unchangeable, but its manifestation in any system of worlds are guided and varied by the planetary deities or the divine intelligences ruling the planets composing the system. In our solar system, these great beings are called, in the Bible, the archangels or the Elohim, and in the Eastern teachings, the Rishis. This earth is the culminating point of this system, but in some respects the least evolved. It is the point of greatest descent, the lowest arc of outward ongoing, where, having reached its lowest manifestation in matter, the law must turn and evolve upward. Ere the law can gather up the forces of the other 6 planets, complete the last note in the octave of the solar system, and make it the first note of a higher octave of planetary manifestation. There must be a great testing and balancing, both of its inhabitants and of the planet as a whole. In the foundation of the solar system, it was the force of Saturn, as Lucifer, star of the morning, that was the first to emanate from the symbolic dot in the circle and expand into the circle itself, or the limits of manifestation during this great cycle, the circumference of which God is the center. His is the force of inertia, of stability, of perfect balance of the positive and negative forces, without which a cosmic center could not manifest in matter, without which the other planetary forces could not act. And as Cronus, the reaper, his force will be the last to be withdrawn, or returned to the bosom of the infinite. It is Saturn who says, I am Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end, the first and the last. In the book of Hermes we read, Among the gods is none like unto him, into whose hands are committed the kingdoms, the power, and the glory of the worlds. Many names hath God given him, names of mystery, secret, and terrible. God calleth him Satan the adversary, because matter opposed spirit, and time accused even the saints of the Lord. For Satan is the magistrate of the justice of God, or karma. He beareth the balance and the sword. Therefore Satan is the minister of God, Lord of the 7 mansions of Hades, matter our earth, the angel of the manifested worlds. As the great tester and initiator, Saturn initiated man into the mystery of the power to create, by the right use of which he shall eat of the tree of immortal life and become as the gods. It is the perfect balancing of its positive and negative manifestations and the right use of this godlike power to create that this is the great test of mankind. Upon the mastering of this problem, the fate of this planet depends. Thus Satan grows into the grandiose image of one who makes of a terrestrial a divine man, who gives him, throughout the long cycle of Mahakalpa, the law of the spirit of life, and makes him free from the sin of ignorance, hence death. Saturn, then, is the one of the Elohim who falls from heaven to take charge of the evolution of man on this lowest planet, the densest field of manifestation. He it is who becomes the lawgiver, he who writes with the finger of God the great law of divine love upon the 2 tables of stone, or man and woman, now for the first time manifesting in separate, dense physical bodies. He stands upon the top of Mount Meru, or Mount Sinai, the mountain of the gods, and delivers to man the law. Those who can behold him see that his countenance, as Lucifer, son of the morning, the herald of the new day, shines with the light of divinity. But for the multitude he is hidden by the devouring fire in the clouds of smoke, and they know him only as the tester, the adversary. For the enlightened he is the fire of the Lord, for the multitude the cloud upon the mountain. This same ideal is symbolized in the Bible by Moses receiving the law on Mount Sinai, Mount Sin, the Mount of the Moon, or generation and regeneration. The numbers of the name Moses, 345, are those of I am that I am, 543, so that Moses and Jehovah are at one in numerical harmony. But the numbers are reversed, hence Moses is but the reflection on earth of the lawgiver on high. Therefore I am that I am, Moses, Michael, Jehovah, the tribal god of the Hebrews, and Satan or Saturn are all symbols of varying aspects of the one great lawgiver. In all philosophies and scriptures we find the term stone, used not in a literal but in a mystical sense. One fundamental meaning of the symbol is that power or force which is the foundation of man's manifested existence. Man is symbolized by a stone because here on the lowest of the planets he has reached his densest expression or state of consciousness, a state so dense from the viewpoint of his divine consciousness that it is like that of a stone as compared with man. The old alchemist also used the term stone in a symbolic way. One meaning of the philosopher's stone, the alkahest or elixir of life, is the perfect blending of the masculine and feminine forces, or the transmutation of the base principle into a perfect harmony, which turns everything it touches into pure spiritual gold. Only when man had reached the point of densest materiality did the great law, working through Saturn or Michael Jehovah, make it possible for him to manifest this foundation stone of his spiritual evolution upon two separate tables. Hitherto man had been androgynous and ethereal, but because he had reached his densest state, it was necessary that this stone be broken, or that the positive and negative aspects of the creative force be separated in order to manifest in physical matter. For the dense animal bodies of the first physical race, the third race, were able to manifest only the lower aspects of the positive force and were utterly unable to manifest the negative or feminine force. The perfect balancing of these two forces which Saturn demands before the soul on its return journey can reach its Father's house is the great task which humanity must fulfill in spirit and in truth. But it can be fulfilled only when the two tables or stone become one. The positive aspect of the law is written upon the masculine table in positive raised letters. This table has been set up in the marketplace, and its laws have dominated the world. The negative aspect is graven deep into the feminine table, and its markings have been filled with the mire and filth of man's lust, so that for ages he has been unable to read the writing, and has imagined that the law was written only on his own table, and that the feminine table was a blank given to him as a toy, upon which, with his soiled and clumsy finger, he could trace whatever characters he desired. Sometimes he has striven to write beautiful eulogies, but in most cases lust and dominion have been his themes. And so, through all the dark ages of man's mentality, the idea prevailed that this feminine stone was man's to use as he would. But the fires of suffering into which man has cast the negative stone is purifying its clay, and is burning the divine character into her soul, so that she knows the law of her being is divine, and is perverted only by man's refusal to recognize the writing and give her true place by his side. In the Bible we read of the stone that was rejected by the builders, but which through the power of the Christ is to become the chief stone of the corner. But this mystic stone cannot be perfected and become the cornerstone of the temple of the new humanity until its two halves are united, until the positive letters of the one fit into the negative character of the other, and the two are fused into one through the power of the Christ. Until this cycle in the world's history, every system of religion and exoteric philosophy has rejected the feminine stone, and either taught the absolute separation of the sexes, segregating women in convents and men in monasteries, or has in some way rejected woman and forced the stones to remain separate, even to the extent of denying the woman a soul and barring her from paradise except to minister to man's desires. The day of the fulfillment of the prophecy is now dawning, and those who can grasp the significance of the blending of the two tables of the law have a great work to do, that the coming sixth sub-race may lay this chief cornerstone, upon which alone the temple of humanity can be erected by the sixth and seventh great races. Humanity is facing its great initiation. Miguel Moses has brought down the two tables of stone, and it must be you, if you are ready with clean hands and a pure heart, who must set up these tables in the Holy of Holies, instead of the marketplace, and read out of them the law to the children of earth, who are so eagerly waiting to learn. Individually, at the very entrance of the path back to Eden, there confronts you the angel of the flaming sword, Miguel, the great regent of Saturn, with the two tables of law. He gives them to you, saying, "This is the law. This is the problem. Learn ye it. Work it out and teach it to the children of earth." Why is it such an enigma? Why must the cloud and the burning of the mountain hide him from your sight? Why do you let the world go on worshiping the golden calf, leaving the great problem of the law to be solved by the few who are unafraid and who are willing to climb the mount of attainment and receive their great test? The children of earth are making mock, are degrading themselves and burying the law beneath the horrible mire of their own sensuality, because they will not read it from its tables. Again and again have the prophets of the Lord sought to bring the law before the multitude, and many sincere teachers who have led their followers out of the darkness of Egypt, after wandering many years in the wilderness, and laboriously climbing the mountain and receiving the dual law, have nevertheless cast it out of their control and broken it. And even though they may be the means of pointing the way to the promised land to many followers, these teachers, like Moses, will be debarred from entering into during his incarnation. It takes clean hands and pure hearts and brave, determined souls to lift this banner of the law before the world, but it must be accomplished. This is the beginning of a new cycle, when an advanced step must be taken into this old problem. Every soul who is now interested in it has in ages past been among those who have tried and failed and suffered. But there must now come to strength of all the past efforts and the wisdom which the suffering has impressed upon each soul. Many as women have had the iron of slavery driven deep into their souls, and hence find within them an inborn quality which cries out not for vengeance, but recognition, equality, and readjustment. Others as men have helped trample underfoot the feminine stone, and striven to obliterate the writing of the finger of God, yet have found their boasted supremacy unsatisfying. They have felt the need for something more than a plaything, more than a household drudge and childbearer, more even than an enshrined idol. The soul knows it needs that help which can only come from the complement which God himself has supplied. For the manifestations of the law having been separated, neither can be complete without the other. They are like children who are reading an interesting story, but who have lost the sequel. They find life an unfinished story, so the two types, all those who have reached the point of evolution where the soul cry is heard, are ready for the readjustment and are crying out for something that shall make straight the crooked path and lighten the great burden of misery for the world. The natural outgrowth of these karmic conditions is unrest and dissatisfaction in marital relations. The woman question is a burning one. Many are eager for political freedom, some few as eager to prevent it. But the political side of the question is but a bubble upon the surface of the greater question of the unification of the two tables of stone, showing it the great stream of humanity is passing over shoals which cause the bubbles to come to the surface. Only as humanity reaches into its deeper levels and its foaming waters and conflicting currents have been blended into one steady stream, can it flow in peace and power down the channels of time, watering all the land and making the desert places in life bloom as the rose. Mankind must recognize that the law can never be fulfilled until its two tables have been cleansed from the pollution that obscures the writing, and each has been given its true value, and they have been fitted together and become one. Then it will be seen that neither man nor woman is superior, nor can either, by any possibility, rightfully usurp the place or perform the duties of the other. In fact, neither one can fulfill the whole law without the harmonious blending and cooperation of the other. Man is the positive expression of the law on the physical plane, but negative upon the spiritual plane. Hence it was necessary that he dominate during those stages of evolution in which the conquering of the rude outward condition of physical life were of prime importance to the welfare of the race. In the united life of the family to him belongs the condition of the outer world, the physical labor, the fighting, the providing for and protecting of the home, the execution of that which is planned by the two, in fact all outward manifestations of the law. True woman is positive upon the spiritual plane where man is negative, and negative upon the physical plane where man is positive. To her belongs the control of all those questions which deal with the higher life. She must use her intuition in the directing of all activities pertaining to the altruistic side of life, just as man uses his reason in worldly affairs. She should be man's moral and spiritual monitor, and should be his source of inspiration and spiritual help. The two should work co-equally in all matters. Many masculine souls now incarnated in feminine bodies are working strenuously and with all the masculine characteristics to bring about the political freedom of women, which they were instrumental in preventing her from obtaining in the past. But it is the true feminine influence that is needed in the political arena, not masculine influence in feminine garb, for it is just as necessary there as in the home, the state and nation being but a larger family. No business or worldly affairs should be carried on without the inspiration and moral sanction of women, and no feminine plans be carried out without man's active help and cooperation in making them positive and practical on the earth plane. In other words, women, while she cultivates her intuition, love, sympathy, and spiritual aspiration, should have those qualities balanced by reason, logic, courage, and common sense. Man, while cultivating the positive qualities of courage, reason, and executive ability, should balance them with love, sympathy, and intuition. The two should blend perfectly, just as spirit penetrates matter and is the cause back of all outward evolution, yet without which outward form it could not manifest on earth. Just as both sun and water are essential to the growing plant, an excess of either bring disaster, but the perfect blending of the two make the earth bring forth an abundance. So should the perfect blending of man and woman make this earth a fertile field for the perfect evolution of the humanity. Only thus can the two tables of stone fit into each other and be fused by the power of the Christ into the chief stone of the corner, upon which the fire of divine love may act co-equally to transmute it into pure spiritual gold.